You and I, we're kind of a lot alike because you guys you're mavericks. I'm a bit of a maverick. You wouldn't be at an entrepreneur conference if you weren't entrepreneurial. You wouldn't be here trying to learn some of this stuff. Today I want to talk to you about a few things that I've learned over time and how to be successful. And I'm going to share with you some concepts about how I failed at business, because I started 2 businesses. So I'm going to share with you how I failed, my business philosophies, and then I'm going to share with you my business success. Honestly, I haven't been a 9-to-5er since 1996. My real goal is to work 4 hours a week. That's 4 hours a week is what I want to do. And my favorite book, how many of you have read 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferriss? If you haven't, I suggest you read it. It's a great book. It's all about how you can create a business and a lifestyle that allows you to work from anywhere in the world and keep your business going from anywhere in the world. See, my wife, she's a little bit older than I am, and my plan is to live my retirement as early as I can, but keep my business afloat. And one of the ways I'm going to do that is with cloud technology. Because with the cloud, I can work from anywhere. I can work from the mountaintop, as long as I have an internet access. I can work anywhere, and my applications are up in the cloud. They're physically resident somewhere on the internet, in some server, and not on my laptop, and not in some location that is fixed. So, business philosophy. My biggest business philosophy is, and this you can take home to the bank, because to me it's the best advice. Keep your fixed costs low, okay? So avoid high fixed costs, and keep as many of your costs variable as you can possibly keep them. So instead of somebody buying computers and technology and software, having a lot of money invested in capital products, okay, make it more like a utility. So have all your costs, as many as you can possibly get, be variable so that you can turn them off, like you can turn off a utility anytime that you want, okay? Today I want to share with you why I've moved more towards cloud, and I'm going to share with you right now my first business failure. Okay, it actually wasn't my first failure. I decided with my college roommate in 1984 that we would have a spice rack business. We thought that the world needed spice racks, and by God, we were going to make a lot of them. So we invested $250 of our own money and built a whole bunch of spice racks, and we didn't sell one of them. So that was a failure. My first catastrophic failure for me was when I went into business in '96. I started a business with that same college roommate. I should have known better. Okay, and it was called Jamson White. Well, back in 1996, the internet was just starting. You know, Al Gore had not created it. Okay, so we had just started the internet. AOL was the big deal back then, and what we ended up doing is we decided to open not one furniture store, but 3 furniture stores. You know, why do one when you could, you know, it's like why bet $2 on a race when you could bet $100, you know? So we made a bet that we would have 3 successful businesses. We had a location in New York City, Miami Beach, Florida, and San Francisco. All very inexpensive places to run your businesses. Okay, we had a lot of money invested in, we had to get leases. So we had money invested in leases and leasehold improvements. We had to have inventory for the stores because back then there was not, you know, the whole concept of e-commerce really wasn't there. So you had to keep everything loaded with inventory. And we had, between the 3 of those, we had to bring in about $100,000 of cash a month to keep that business just flowing. Okay. This is how we did our technology back then. We had We had 2 or 3 computers at each location that had point of sale on them. I had a different computer in my office that had a back office program on it. At the end of every day, the sales manager would write down on a slip of paper what was sold. We would include a printout from the point of sale system. They would fax that to me. I would then get that information, and I would rekey everything, and I'd put that in our back office system. And our whole idea for backup and recovery was once a week they'd back up their stuff onto floppy drives, if you recall those, and then they would take those home, and then once a month they would be so kind as to send those to me, and I would restore those on my machine, and that was our idea for disaster recovery. It only took about a week to get the information back and forth through the Postal Service, but it was all good, okay? Needless to say, that business failed, okay? And it failed just because we had too many fixed costs. If I were starting a business today, here's what I would do. So let's talk about standalone applications versus cloud computing. What's the first thing that you need when you start a business? You need a computer, okay? And you need some sort of office suite. What's the most popular one? Microsoft Office. Okay, how much does it cost? About $250 for Microsoft Office, okay? Then what's the other thing that you need? Somehow you got to manage your business financially, right? What's the most popular financial package? QuickBooks. All right, and that's what I did. This is exactly what we did, okay? So for $479 plus your computer, you can be up and running in business, okay? You don't have customers yet, but you got what you need to get started. Now I want you to look at on the contrary, the way you would do it in the cloud, okay? How many of you have heard of Google and Google Apps? Okay, Google Apps, it's like $5 a month. It's a utility that you turn on. You can actually get a free version if you want, but for $5 a month, you can get your URL attached to it. So whatever you create as your name, it's attached to it as your email. You get all sorts of storage up in the sky, up on the internet. You get 25 gig of storage, okay? And you can get calendaring, spreadsheets. You can get calendaring, spreadsheets, word processors, and other collaborative things, okay? $5 a month. How many of you know that there's an online version of QuickBooks? It's called, guess what it's called? QuickBooks Online, okay? And you know what's cool about QuickBooks Online? It's not QuickBooks Online 1996, like when I started my business, or 1998, or 2000. You know, isn't that a great idea to just change the number after your software, and then you have to buy it again in 2 years? Okay? Both those products are updated constantly for that price. Okay? So for $18 a month, folks, you can start a business. And you know what? If you fail after a month, you spent $18. Okay? It's not a big deal. Now, one thing I did tell you is that you do need an internet connection, but you can get on the internet for free at Dunkin' Donuts and Panera if you want to. Now, you may gain 300 pounds, you may become a diabetic, okay? But it's the price you pay for something that's free sometimes. All right, so I want to tell you now about a business that I had that was successful and is successful. But like most businesses, the wonderful thing about small business is it's a thrill, because quite frankly, we're one event away from complete disaster, and we're one event away from complete success. And that's what I love about it. I love that kind of being on the edge a little bit, okay? So the business that was a success, I want to take you to 2002. In 2001, after 9/11, if you recall, the economy kind of tanked then. The furniture businesses tanked. I was left with the DMD data systems. I was the only employee. I had low fixed costs because I was using the computer from the other company and the software from the other company. So I had no costs. I was working out of my home. I was using my home phone. It was very easy. But I was 39 and I figured about 20 years left to do something, so I better make something else successful, so I started building DMD. So where do you look when you're building your business? Who's the first people you look to? Your family and your friends, okay? How can I make this bigger? Well, fortunately, I have 3 older sisters, and I'm the youngest brother, I'm the only brother. My oldest sister, Diane, was the valedictorian of her high school. She was an MBA. She was recently laid off from AT&T. So I had those were 3 great things, okay? But Diane lived in New York, and I lived in Kentucky. Now, Diane wasn't going to move to Kentucky. You know, why would Diane move to some place that's warmer? The people are nice, and all we care about is college basketball. You know, she wouldn't. She just didn't want to do it. I had another motive in mind. You see, my parents still lived in New York, so I could keep my sister in New York, and I could keep her taking care of my aging parents, okay? So my sister's taking care of my parents, and she's also now going to run the back office of my business. So we needed to make a change. That's right when QuickBooks Online came out. Lo and behold, one morning we decided, how are we going to do it? We looked, we said, oh, QuickBooks Online, it seems easy. By that afternoon, we had converted our stuff over, and we were spending $12 or $13 a month for QuickBooks Online. She was accessing it, I was accessing it. Everything was great, so it all worked out nice. Okay, fast forward. Now we're at about 2006, and we've got about 6 or 7 people. We grew about a person a year to a person and a half a year. And when you're growing your business, everybody individually is keeping their own opportunities and proposals on their own laptops, it becomes a little bit of a problem. Think about if you got 6 people, if one person's, how many of you get viruses on your laptops? How many of your laptops crash and burn continually, or you struggle with it? Well, we had similar issues, so if people would crash and burn and things weren't backed up, we'd lose proposals, we'd lose opportunities, we'd lose contact lists. So we decided that we had to have a centralized customer relationship management system, okay? That's CRM. So there's multiples of those. Probably some of you have heard of ACT and Goldmine and these other things that you might put on your laptop, okay? Well, we had more people than that, and we didn't want to buy or invest in a piece of software. We wanted to rent something that was up in the cloud, because that was the direction we were going. So we found a product, Salesforce. Salesforce.com is actually what it's called. So Salesforce, meaning Salesforce Automation.com on the internet. So we used that product, and literally in an afternoon, we moved over to Salesforce.com. We got all of our contacts in there. Everybody moved their stuff in. We were doing our proposals. We were doing all of our opportunity tracking. We could see what we were going to be doing and how we were going to be doing it. It was great. I want to give you an example, though, of how it came in handy. And this is a sad story. One of the problems that you have in small business is that we're only as good as in a small business as you are. And if you have something bad happen in your life, it affects the business. If you have a person who has something bad happen in their life, it affects the business. One of my guys, Richard, was in his late 50s, and he had a 26-year-old son that died in an accident, and within 24 hours it was an accident and he had died. And when you have 6 people in your business, that rocks your world, you know, and it rocked our world. And because, though, Richard obviously had to check out for a little while, and we wanted Richard to check out and take care of himself the best he could. But with a product like Salesforce, we were able to go in, we were able to kind of pick up all of Richard's accounts, we were able to move his opportunities forward, and Richard, in the worst personal year of his life, had probably the best financial year of his life. It wasn't enough, but it's something that you can do. You have to realize that you can pick up the pieces when there is a disaster, okay? I'm going to fast forward. Cloud is not only about compute technology, it's also about voice, okay? And so we were all working in our home offices because we were too cheap. I didn't want to pay rent, Everybody worked in their home office. We had some centralized stuff, but we were ready to move to an office, and we needed a phone system. So you can invest $5,000 to $10,000 in a phone system, but I don't want to do that. I want to do it as a utility. So we searched and searched, and now you can see there's things like, back then it was Vonage was the big thing, and we tried Vonage for about 3 or 4, 6 months, but it really wasn't a business grade voice over IP system. And we moved to a product that's called Nextiva. That's nextiva.com, and I'm going to show you a slide at the end that has all these names on it, and I'm going to tell you a URL so you can go to it so you can see all the different things that we use. Nextiva.com, you know what's great about that is you don't have any equipment in your office. You use the internet that's coming into your office. We have now 15 extensions on Nextiva. You can dial a 3-digit extension to anybody wherever they are, and if they can forward that to their phone, their cell phone, they can forward it to their home phone. They can be anywhere in the world, including on the top of a mountain, as long as they have internet, and they can get their phone call because they can use a headset and a voice thing attached to their laptop if they're traveling. They also get in their email, they get their actual voicemail, so they can listen to their voicemails. I'll give you an example. We just hired a person, Amy, and her husband Chris works at UK. He went on sabbatical. Well, we needed Amy to work, okay? And Amy wanted to work, and they went to England. So Amy, all she did is she took her laptop, she went over to England. She was gone on a Friday. On Monday, she plugged in. She was working. I could dial a 3-digit extension and talk to Amy. It cost me nothing extra. For $150 a month, I have a phone system, that works. So when you're looking at things like that, think about the cloud as beyond just compute. There's other ways to use it. The other thing that happens as you grow is you get to the point where we are now, where we're about a $15 million company, and we've got 16 people. We just hired our 16th person. And we've gotten to the point where Salesforce and QuickBooks, being two disparate systems and not integrated, have become a problem. So you need to find things to grow with you, okay? You need to find things that are scalable. And so what we have done in this the last 2 years, we moved to Google Apps to begin with. Google Apps we weren't using until 2009. I've explained to you how that works. Google Apps, we use it. Lexmark uses it. Okay. I don't think I'm ever going to get as big as Lexmark, but I know if they're using it, I should be able to use it as well. Okay. The other thing that we've just started moving to. We had a 6-month process of trying to find an integrated CRM, a Salesforce type product, with our financials. And we looked, and we could have spent $150,000 on software and equipment and all that kind of jazz, but we opted to go with probably the number one product out there is NetSuite, netsuite.com. Now it's not cheap, but it's still a utility. Okay, right now it's costing me. For that, it's about $1,500 a month to run that. But now I have integrated everything. I can start, when I get a lead, I can start with my accounts. I can then move it with my Salesforce to a lead, track opportunities. I can put all my quotes in it. I can take my quotes and convert them to a sales order. I can convert a sales order to a purchase order to my vendors, and I can have it all tied into my back-end financials. So it's one whole system, okay? And it's great. I'm so stoked. We're moving to it right now. We're in the middle of the process. And that's what also happens when you get larger, is that you have to be very process driven. For me to grow this business and for us to grow this business, we have to be very process centric. And the easier I can make things and have some sort of automation that allows my Salesforce to do things a little more mechanically and allows my support team to do things a little more mechanically, I can cut down on the number of people I have, and I can increase my profits. So we use NetSuite for that. I want to touch real quickly. I'm not an expert on these. I brought my marketing VP, Anitra, with me. But there are 3 products that at the break you could probably talk to her about. We use for our website, we use a website builder called Squarespace. We use Constant Contact for email marketing. And we have a social media dashboard that ties all the social media stuff together into one dashboard, and that's called Hootsuite. All of them are very reasonable and quite frankly cheap to use. They're all cloud-based technologies. Okay? So really what I want you to know from my standpoint, I've had a great time building this business cloud-based. I want you to understand that I sleep a lot better at night, knowing that somebody else is managing the things, managing some of my business up in the cloud. I've enjoyed building a business this way. I've enjoyed keeping my fixed costs low and having everything be variable and utility based. And I hope that someday I get to the point, and that you get to the point where you're living a dream, you're living a business that allows you to just work for 4 hours a week. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of the Kentucky Small Business Development Center. For more information, visit ksbdc.org.